이봐, 이 여자 한국말 할 줄 알겠어?
무엇을 도와드릴까요?
The crystal chandeliers of Jade Harbor caught the last light over the Han River. 30 floors below, Seoul hummed. Up here, silence cost extra. Renee Carter stood at table 12, notepad in hand. She didn't smile. She didn't fidget. She just waited. The 5 guests didn't look up. Designer handbags occupied empty chairs. Phones glowed against the white tablecloth. Fingers snapped, once, twice, like calling a dog. Hey. Still Renee waited. One of the men finally glanced up, irritation already settling into his jaw. We've been sitting here for 5 minutes. His friend laughed. Does she even understand what we're saying? Renee's pen hovered over the notepad. She said nothing. The woman at the head of the table leaned back, eyes scanning Renee's uniform. The plain black fabric, the simple name tag, the absence of jewelry or pretense. I don't think she speaks Korean, the woman said in Korean, not bothering to lower her voice. Probably can't even read the menu, another man added. Laughter rippled around the table. Renee's hand didn't shake. Her expression didn't change. She simply stood there, pen ready, as if their words were weather, something that happened around her, not to her. The first man waved dismissively. Just point to pictures or something. Make it easy for her. Before I even tell you what happened, let me ask you this. Have you ever been invisible to people who should have seen you? If you have, you'll feel this story in your bones. And if you know that kind of silence, hit subscribe. Not because it helps me, but because stories like this remind us that sometimes patience is the sharpest weapon. The woman switched fully to Korean now, confidence growing with each word. She's probably from the kitchen. They hire anyone these days. Uneducated, the younger man muttered, scrolling his phone. Can you imagine her trying to pronounce Hanwoo? Another burst of laughter. Renee's eyes tracked across the table, not at their faces, but at their hands. The Patek Philippe watch, the Hermes bracelet, the custom cufflinks with initials she recognized from financial reports. Her pen finally moved. A single stroke, not writing their order, just marking something. The first man huffed. Is there a manager? Someone who can actually... Wagyu, Renee said softly, still not looking up. Her pen tapped the menu they'd ignored. You meant Wagyu. Hanwoo is Korean beef. Different cut. Different price point. The table went quiet. The woman blinked. What did you... But Renee wasn't finished. She turned a page in her notepad. Not to a blank sheet, but to something already written. Notes, dates, names. One of the men leaned forward, squinting. What is that? Renee closed the notepad. The silence stretched. Thick, uncomfortable. Across the dining room, a man in a charcoal suit had stopped mid-conversation. His champagne glass paused halfway to his lips. His eyes locked on Renee's table, specifically on her. Seo Kang-yeon's face had gone pale. His dinner companion asked something. Kang-yeon didn't respond. He was already standing, already moving, his gaze never leaving the woman in the simple black uniform. The man at table 12 raised his voice. Look, we don't have time for this. Just bring us the sirloin, medium rare, and the Hanwoo sirloin pairs better with the 98 Bordeaux, Renee said, switching to flawless Korean. Not broken, not accented, but native. Her tone was respectful, precise, and utterly calm. The chef recommends decanting for 40 minutes. The tannins are aggressive, and you'll want the sea salt on the side, not mixed in. She looked up for the first time. Her eyes met theirs. Shall I put that in? The woman's mouth opened. No sound came out. The younger man's phone slipped slightly in his hand. You speak Korean? The woman finally managed. Renee tilted her head just slightly. Yes, ma'am. I also read financial disclosures, offshore accounts, and I know exactly who you all are. The air left the room. Behind them, footsteps approached, steady, measured, inevitable. Kang Yeon's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "What is your name?" Renee didn't turn. She kept her eyes on table 12. "Renee," she said simply. Kang Yeon stopped 3 feet away. His breathing had changed, shallow, controlled, like a man trying not to drown. "That's not the name I asked for." Now she turned. Their eyes met, and for the first time in 15 years, Seo Kang Yeon looked afraid. The guests at table 12 suddenly wanted to leave. They didn't know why yet, but they felt it. The shift, the danger, the realization that the woman they dismissed had been studying them the entire time. Renee's pen clicked shut. She hadn't taken their order. She'd been taking notes. The chandeliers at Jade Harbor reflected off the Han River like broken promises. I stood at table 12 with my notepad, waiting. They didn't look up. 5 of them. Designer everything. Phones glowing. Fingers snapping at me like I was furniture that had forgotten its place. "Hey." I didn't move. "Hey, we've been waiting." The man finally glanced up. His eyes barely touched my face before sliding away, already bored. His friend smirked, leaning back in his chair. "Does she even understand us?" I held my pen steady, said nothing. The woman at the table, silk blouse, diamond earrings that cost more than my rent, looked me over, slowly. The way you'd inspect something broken at a store before asking for a refund. She switched to Korean, casual, confident. "I don't think she speaks it. Probably can't even read," another man added. Laughter rolled around the table like dice. My hand didn't shake. My face didn't change. I just stood there, pen ready, letting their words wash over me like rain I'd learned to stop feeling. The first man waved his hand. "Just point to pictures. Make it simple." Behind me, glassware clinked. Conversations hummed. Seoul's skyline pressed against the windows. All that light. All that power. 30 floors above people who'd never see inside this room. The woman's voice sharpened. "She's probably from the kitchen. They hire anyone now." "Uneducated," the younger man muttered, not even bothering to whisper. "Can you imagine her trying to say Hanwoo?" More laughter. I watched their hands. The Patek Philippe, the Hermès, the custom cufflinks with initials I'd memorized from financial documents 3 weeks ago. My pen moved. 1 stroke. "Not their order, just a mark." The first man huffed. "Is there a manager? Someone who can actually—" "Wagyu," I said quietly. My eyes stayed on my notepad. "You meant Wagyu. Hanwoo is Korean beef. Different cut. Different price." Silence dropped like a stone. The woman blinked. "What did you just—" I turned a page. Not to blank paper, to notes I'd written before they'd even sat down. Names, dates, connections. One of the men leaned forward. "What is that?" I closed the notepad. The quiet stretched. Uncomfortable now. Wrong. Across the dining room, someone stood up too quickly. A champagne glass clinked, forgotten. I felt his stare before I saw him. Seo Kang Yeon, charcoal suit, face like stone, except his hands. His hands were trembling. He was already walking toward us. The man at table 12 raised his voice. "Look, we don't have time for this. Just bring us the sirloin, medium rare, and the Hanwoo sirloin pairs better with the 98 Bordeaux." I switched to Korean. Flawless, native, precise. "The chef recommends decanting for 40 minutes. The tannins are aggressive. You'll want the sea salt on the side, not mixed in." I looked up, met their eyes. "Shall I put that in?" The woman's face went white. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. The younger man's phone slipped in his hand. "You speak Korean?" she whispered. I tilted my head slightly. "Yes, ma'am. I also read financial disclosures, offshore accounts, and I know exactly who each of you are." The room held its breath. Footsteps stopped behind me, close enough to feel. "What is your name?" Kang Yeon's voice, low, controlled, cracking at the edges. I kept my eyes on table 12. Renee? That's not the name I asked for. I turned then. His face had drained of color. His breathing was shallow, like a man who'd just seen a ghost he'd buried 15 years ago. Our eyes locked. For the first time since I was 8 years old, I saw Seo Kang-yeon afraid. The guests at table 12 started gathering their things. They didn't know why yet, but they felt it. The danger, the shift, the sudden understanding that the woman they'd mocked had been watching them all along. My pen clicked shut. I hadn't taken their order. I'd been collecting evidence. Have you ever been in a room where people spoke about you like you weren't even there? Like your presence didn't matter enough to lower their voices? I have. And if you've ever swallowed words that could have burned the whole place down just to keep your job, just to survive another day, you already know how this feels. Don't scroll past this. Hit subscribe right now. Not for me. For every person who's ever been underestimated. Because what happened next? They never saw it coming. And neither will you. Kang-yeon's hand went to the table to steady himself. The guests from table 12 were already standing, mumbling apologies to no one in particular, grabbing phones and purses like the building was on fire. "Excuse us," one of them said. Kang-yeon didn't even look at them. "Sit down." His voice was quiet, almost polite. They sat. The woman tried again, voice shaking. "We didn't mean to." "You're comped," Kang-yeon said. "Leave, now." They didn't argue. Chairs scraped, heels clicked against marble. Within 30 seconds, table 12 was empty except for half-drunk wine and abandoned appetizers. The rest of the dining room had gone quiet. People pretended to eat, to talk, but every eye was on us. Kang-yeon stepped closer, close enough that I could see the fine line of sweat at his temple, the way his jaw locked like he was holding back something violent. "You shouldn't be here," he said in Korean. "You built this city on people who weren't supposed to exist," I replied in the same language. His breath hitched, just for a second, but I caught it. "Who sent you?" "No one." "Then why?" "I came for the truth." He laughed once, sharp and bitter. "You're a waitress." I leaned in, just enough that my voice wouldn't carry. "My mother was Jisoo Carter." The name hit him like a fist. His knees almost buckled. He gripped the back of a chair, knuckles white. "That's impossible," he whispered. "She died 15 years ago," I said. "Immigration raid. No survivors." That's what the report said. His eyes searched my face, desperate, looking for proof I was lying. He didn't find it. "You have her eyes," he breathed. "I have her files too." The color that was left in his face drained completely. Around us, the staff had stopped pretending to work. A manager hovered near the kitchen door, phone in hand, clearly wondering if he should call security, the police, or both. Kang-yeon's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "If you do this here, you won't survive what comes next." "I've been surviving since I was 8, I said. "You taught me how." His jaw clenched. "I tried to protect her. You made her a target." "I didn't know. You knew enough." Silence pressed between us like something physical. And then the screens changed. Every display in Jade Harbor, the ones that usually showed abstract art, slow-moving colors meant to soothe wealthy appetites, went black. For 3 seconds, nothing. Then footage appeared. Bank transfers, dates, names, offshore accounts funneling through hospitality chains, cleaning companies, translation services. Gasps rippled through the room. Someone dropped a fork. Kang-yeon's head snapped toward the nearest screen. "What did you do?" I didn't answer. The footage continued. Surveillance clips. A younger Kang-yeon in a private office, shaking hands with men whose faces were blurred but whose names appeared in text at the bottom. Then my mother. Younger, alive, beautiful, sitting across from Kang-yeon, translating documents, her hand shaking as she signed something she clearly didn't want to sign. Oh, Kang-yeon made a sound like he'd been gutted. "Turn it off," he said to no one. To everyone. "Turn it off." but the screens kept playing. A manager ran toward the control room. Too late. My voice came through the speakers. Pre-recorded, calm, bilingual. Mireo Holdings laundered billions through businesses like this one. Waitresses, cleaners, translators, invisible people. My mother was one of them. When she tried to talk, they called it an immigration incident. Phones came out. Dozens of them. Filming, streaming. Kang Yeon turned to me, eyes wild. "You're destroying everything. You destroyed her first." The front doors burst open. Police, reporters, camera flashes like lightning. Chaos swallowed the room whole. An officer moved toward Kang Yeon. "Sir, we need you to come with us." He didn't resist. Didn't run. He just stared at me as the handcuffs clicked shut, his empire crumbling in real time around him. "She loved you," he said. "I know," I replied. "That's why I'm here." They led him away. The dining room erupted, shouting, crying, people trying to leave, others trying to get closer to the screens, still playing evidence on loop. I picked up my tray, the same tray they'd mocked me for holding, and I walked out. The apartment was silent when I got back. Just me. 4 walls. My mother's old briefcase sitting on the kitchen table like it had been waiting 15 years for this exact moment. I dropped my keys. My hands were shaking now, adrenaline finally catching up, the weight of what I'd just done settling into my bones. I'd exposed a criminal empire on live television. I'd destroyed a man in front of Seoul's elite, and I'd done it wearing a server's uniform and a smile. I sat down, opened the briefcase. Inside, documents my mother had hidden before she died, translations she'd been paid to do, contracts she'd been forced to sign, and USB drives, 3 of them, labeled in her handwriting, Korean characters, dates, code names. I plugged the first one into my laptop. Encrypted, of course it was, but my mother had taught me. Late nights when I was supposed to be asleep, she'd sit me down at our old desktop computer and show me how to break through locks, how to read between lines, how to find truth in places people tried to bury it. "Just in case," she'd said. "Just in case something happens to me." Something had happened, and she'd known it would. I cracked the encryption in 20 minutes. Files flooded the screen. Financial records, email chains, audio recordings. My mother's voice, younger, scared, but steady, translating conversations between Kang Yeon and men I didn't recognize. Discussions about moving money, about cleaning transactions through legitimate businesses, about workers who wouldn't ask questions because they couldn't afford to. Then another voice, not Kang Yeon's, smoother, colder. "We can't have loose ends, Kang Yeon. You know that." "She's not a loose end. She's a liability. Fix it or I will." Static. Then silence. My chest tightened. I opened another file, a news article from 15 years ago. Woman dies in immigration raid. No survivors. My mother's name, Renee Carter, age 34, caught in a surprise enforcement action. Witnesses reported she'd been trying to run. Lies, all of it. She hadn't been running from immigration. As she'd been running from them. I scrolled further, found internal emails between ICE officials and someone listed only as JH, request to expedite the raid, to ensure no survivors, to close the case quickly and quietly. My hands curled into fists. They didn't deport her. They erased her. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it. Let it ring twice, 3 times. Then I answered. "Hello?" Silence on the other end. Not empty silence. The kind where someone's there, deciding whether to speak. Then a man's voice. Korean accent. Smooth as glass. "Your mother made a deal before she died." My breath stopped. "Who is this?" "Someone who's been waiting a long time to meet you." A pause. "You just inherited her debt." "I don't owe you anything." "No?" A soft laugh. "Then why did you expose the wrong man?" My pulse spiked. Kang Yeon ran the operation. Kang Yeon was the face, I was the mind, the voice from the recording. JH. You killed my mother, I said. I gave the order, he corrected. Kang Yan pulled the trigger by bringing her into this world. We both failed her, but only one of us paid for it tonight. You'll pay too. Will I? Another pause. You released evidence that destroys Kang Yan. Convenient for me. His assets, his connections, his empire, all up for grabs now. So thank you. My stomach dropped. You used me. You used yourself. I just didn't stop you. His tone shifted, colder now. But we're not done. Meet me at Namsan Tower, observation deck, midnight, come alone. And if I don't, then all that evidence you just released, it disappears. Every file, every witness, every thread you think you pulled. You can't. I already own half the people investigating this. The other half I'll buy by morning. A beat. Midnight, Renee. Don't make me wait. The line went dead. I sat there, staring at my phone, my mother's files glowing on the screen behind me. I'd thought I was hunting the monster. Turned out, I'd just been bait. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother's face. Heard her voice on those recordings. Felt the weight of 15 years pressing against my chest like I'd been holding my breath the whole time. By 11 p.m., I'd gone through every file on all 3 USB drives. What I found made my hands go numb. My mother hadn't just been a translator. She'd been documenting everything. Not for Kang Yan, not for the people who'd hired her, for me. There were folders labeled with my birthday, my school enrollment dates, instructions written in English and Korean, telling me where to find safety deposit boxes, who to trust, who to avoid, and one video file. I clicked it. The screen filled with my mother's face. She looked tired, scared, but her eyes were clear, focused directly at the camera like she could see me through time itself. Renee, her voice cracked. If you're watching this, I'm gone. I covered my mouth, tears already burning. I tried to get us out. I tried so hard, baby. But they're too powerful, and I made mistakes. I trusted the wrong man. I fell in love when I should have been running. She glanced off camera, like checking if someone was coming. Everything you need is with Father Matthias at St. Anne's Church in Itaewon. He doesn't know what's in the package. He only knows to give it to you. No one else. A pause. Kang Yan isn't the monster. He's just the man who loved me badly. The real monster? She leaned closer to the camera. His name is Han Ji-hoon. He's Kang Yan's partner. He's the one who ordered the raid. He's the one who'll come for you if he finds out you exist. My blood went cold. Don't trust him, Renee. No matter what he offers. No matter what he promises. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry I won't be there to protect you, but you're stronger than I ever was. You always have been. The video cut out. I sat in the dark, shaking, my mother's voice still echoing in my head. Han Ji-hoon. The man who just called me. The man who wanted to meet at midnight. I checked the time. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes. I should have stayed home. Should have called the police, a lawyer, anyone. But the files on my screen told a different story. Half the investigators on Kang Yan's case had bank accounts that didn't match their salaries. 3 of them had taken trips to private islands owned by shell companies linked to, guess who, Han Ji-hoon. He wasn't lying. He did own them. And if I didn't go, my mother's evidence would disappear like she had. Scrubbed, buried, forgotten. I grabbed my coat. Checked the small canister of pepper spray in my pocket, useless against a man like Ji-hoon, but it made me feel less helpless. Then I left. The subway was nearly empty. A few late-night workers, a couple of drunk college students. No one looked at me. No one ever did. By the time I reached Namsan Tower, the observation deck was closed to the public. But the elevator doors were open, waiting. I stepped inside. the doors slid shut, and I rode up into the dark, knowing I was walking into a trap, but unable to turn back, because my mother had died for the truth, and I wasn't about to let her killer bury it. The observation deck was empty, just glass walls, the Seoul skyline glittering below like a city made of lies, and one man standing at the far edge, hands in his pockets, looking almost peaceful. Han Ji-hoon, mid-40s, tailored suit, hair graying at the temples in that way that made powerful men look distinguished instead of old. He didn't turn around when I stepped off the elevator. "You're late," he said in Korean. "I'm here," I replied in English. He smiled at that, turned slowly. His eyes swept over me, not leering, just assessing. Like I was a piece on a board he was still deciding how to move. "You look like her," he said, switching to English. "Same defiance, same stupidity." My jaw tightened. "You killed her." "I gave an order," he corrected, stepping closer. "Other people executed it. That's how power works, Renee. You insulate yourself from the blood." "You're not insulated anymore," he laughed. Actually laughed. "Because you exposed Kang Yeon? Please, you did exactly what I needed. I exposed your operation." "You exposed his operation," Ji-hoon said. "Everything you released tonight traces back to him. His accounts, his signature, his authority. I made sure of that years ago." My stomach twisted. "Meanwhile," he continued, "I'm the concerned partner, shocked, horrified, fully cooperative with investigators." He tilted his head. "By tomorrow, I'll be the hero who helped take down a criminal empire. And Moreau? It'll be restructured under new leadership. Yours? Mine." He walked to the glass wall, looking out over the city like he already owned it. "Your mother was supposed to be simple," he said quietly. "A translator. Nothing more. But Kang Yeon fell in love with her, started making promises, started thinking he could go legitimate, leave this life, build something clean." He glanced back at me. "Love makes men weak. And you couldn't have that. I built this empire. I wasn't about to let him dismantle it for a woman." Rage burned in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. "So you framed her, made her look like a criminal, then had her killed." "I protected my investment," he said simply. "She knew too much. Kang Yeon was too compromised. The solution was obvious." "And now?" He turned fully to face me. "Now I have a problem. You." "Then why am I still alive?" "Because you're useful." He pulled a folder from inside his jacket, slid it across the glass barrier between us. "Kang Yeon visits a grave every year. Your mother's grave. He brings white chrysanthemums, cries like a child." I didn't touch the folder. "He still loves her," Ji-hoon said, "which means he'll do anything for you. Confess, testify, destroy himself completely if it means protecting Jisoo's daughter." My breath caught. "I need him gone," Ji-hoon continued. "Not just arrested, ruined, and you're going to help me." "Why would I help you?" "Because I'll give you what you want." He leaned forward. "Justice. Your mother's name cleared. A foundation in her honor. Money, power, revenge, whatever you need to sleep at night." "In exchange for what?" "Finish him." His eyes were cold, empty. "Make Kang Yeon confess to ordering your mother's death. Make it public. Make it hurt. He didn't order it, you did." "Prove it," he smiled. "Oh wait, you can't, because every piece of evidence points to him." Silence stretched between us. "You have 48 hours, Ji-hoon said. "After that, I expose you as an accomplice. Someone who knew about the money laundering, who helped her mother cover it up, who's been blackmailing Kang Yeon for years." "That's a lie. Lies backed by documents are called evidence." He walked past me toward the elevator. "Midnight, 2 days from now. Same place. Bring me his confession, and you get everything you want." The elevator doors opened. He stepped inside, then paused. "Your mother died because she chose the wrong side, Renee. Don't make the same mistake. The doors closed. I stood there, alone, my mother's killer's offer echoing in my head. Destroy the man who loved her, or lose everything she died protecting. The detention center smelled like disinfectant and desperation. I sat in a plastic chair, staring at the glass partitions separating visitors from inmates, my reflection staring back at me like a stranger. What was I doing here? Ji-hoon wanted me to destroy Kang-yeon. My mother's files said he wasn't the monster. But he'd brought her into this world. He'd made her a target. So what did that make him? The door on the other side opened. Kang-yeon shuffled in, hands cuffed, orange jumpsuit replacing the tailored suits I'd only ever seen him wear. He looked smaller somehow, older. He sat down slowly, picked up the phone. I picked up mine. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "Why did you come?" he finally asked in Korean. "To see if you're worth saving," I replied in the same language. His eyes closed. "I'm not." "Then this will be quick." He opened them again, searching my face. "You have her fire." Jisoo used to look at me like that, like she could see every lie I'd ever told. Could she? Every single one. Silence pressed between us, thick and suffocating. "I met your mother at a language exchange," he said quietly. "She was getting her master's degree, teaching Korean to foreign students to pay rent. I was supposed to be learning English for business meetings." He laughed bitterly. "I barely learned 10 words. I just kept coming back to hear her voice." My throat tightened. "She was brilliant," he continued. "Spoke 4 languages. Could have worked anywhere. Done anything. But she stayed because—" He stopped, swallowed hard. "Because I asked her to. You gave her a job translating for criminals. I gave her a way to stay in the country legally, or that's what I told myself." His voice cracked. "My family would never accept her. She was black, foreign, unsuitable." He spat the word like poison. "So I kept her close the only way I could, made her essential to the business. Thought if she was valuable enough, they'd have to accept her. They killed her instead." His hands trembled against the phone. "Ji-hoon did. Not them. Not my family. Him. You could have stopped it." I tried. His eyes were wet now. "When I found out what he was planning, I tried to get her out. Bought plane tickets. Had documents ready. But she wouldn't leave without you, and getting a child across borders with fake papers—" He shook his head. "I was setting it up. I just needed 2 more days." "She didn't have 2 more days." "I know." A tear slipped down his face. "I know. I wanted to hate him, wanted to feel nothing but rage. But all I felt was tired." "Ji-hoon came to see me," I said. Kang-yeon's head snapped up. "When?" "Last night. He wants me to destroy you, get you to confess to ordering her death." "In exchange for what?" "Everything. Money, power, my mother's name cleared." His jaw clenched. "And if you don't?" "He exposes me as an accomplice." Kang-yeon slammed his hand against the glass. "Don't trust him. Whatever he promised, he's lying." "I know." "Then why are you here?" I leaned closer to the partition. "Because I need to know the truth. Not the version in files. Not what Ji-hoon says. Yours." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he reached into his jumpsuit pocket, slowly, so the guards wouldn't react, and pulled out a folded piece of paper, pressed it against the glass. A visiting authorization for a bank vault. "Your mother left something for you," he said. "I've kept it safe for 15 years, waiting, hoping you'd come looking." "What is it?" "The truth you'll need." He slid the paper through the small slot at the bottom of the partition. "There's a key. Evidence Ji-hoon doesn't know exists. Evidence that proves everything." I took the paper, unfolded it. A vault number, an address in Gangnam, and a small silver key taped to the back. "Why didn't you use this yourself?" I asked. "Because it wasn't mine to use." His voice was barely a whisper. "It was hers. And now it's yours. The guard tapped his shoulder. Time was up. Kang Yeon stood slowly, eyes never leaving mine. I loved her, he said. Every day of my life I loved her. And I failed her. Don't let me fail you too. They led him away. I sat there holding the key, my mother's final gift burning in my palm. When I finally looked him in the eye, people would call me ruthless for what I was about to do. But tell me something. Where was mercy when my mother begged for protection? Where was justice when they buried her like she never existed? If you've ever had to choose between forgiveness and truth, between what's easy and what's right, this channel is your space. Subscribe. Not for me, but for every person who refused to stay silent when silence would have been safer. Because what I found in that vault, it changed everything. The bank in Gangnam looked like every other luxury building in Seoul. Marble floors, soft lighting, employees who smiled without warmth. I handed the authorization to a woman behind a desk. She scanned it, frowned, scanned it again. This vault hasn't been accessed in 15 years, she said. I know. She led me through security checkpoints, down a hallway that smelled like old money and older secrets, into a private room with walls lined with safe deposit boxes. Box 347. She inserted her key, waited for mine. My hand shook as I slid my mother's key into the second lock. The door opened. Inside, a metal box, smaller than I'd expected. The employee left me alone. I lifted the lid. Passports, 2 of them, fake names, Jisoo and Renee Park. Our photos, younger versions of ourselves, staring back at me from laminated pages. Cash, American dollars, enough for plane tickets, new lives, disappearing, and a videotape, actual tape, VHS. Like something from another lifetime. My hands trembled as I pulled it out. A label on the side, my mother's handwriting. If you're watching this, I'm gone. The bank had a viewing room, old equipment kept for exactly this kind of situation, people leaving messages they didn't trust to clouds or hard drives. I slid the tape in. Static. Then my mother's face filled the screen. Younger. Scared. Alive. Renee. Her voice broke me open. If you're seeing this, it means they won. I tried, baby. I tried so hard to get us out. Tears blurred my vision. Everything you need is with Father Matthias at St. Anne's Church in Itaewon. I gave him a USB drive. He doesn't know what's on it. He only knows to give it to you. She glanced off camera, nervous. Kang Yeon isn't the monster. He's just a man who loved me badly. But Han Ji-hoon? She leaned closer. He's the one who ordered the raid. He's the one who'll come for you if he knows you exist. My chest tightened. I recorded everything. His voice, his orders, dates, times, payments, it's all there. A pause. Don't let him win, Renee. Don't let him bury the truth the way he buried me. The screen went black. I sat there, shaking. My mother's voice still echoing in the small room. St. Anne's Church. Father Matthias. I had 4 hours before Ji-hoon's deadline. The church was small, tucked between a cafe and a convenience store in Itaewon. I almost missed it. Inside, candles flickered. The smell of incense hung in the air. An elderly priest knelt at the altar. White hair, kind eyes. Father Matthias? I asked quietly. He turned, studied my face. You're Jisoo's daughter. Not a question, a fact. She said you'd come eventually. He stood slowly, joints creaking. I've been waiting a long time. He led me to a back office, opened a locked drawer, and pulled out a small package wrapped in cloth. She made me promise, he said. Only you, no one else. I unwrapped it. A USB drive, newer than the ones in the briefcase, hidden separately, kept safe. What's on it? I asked. I don't know, he admitted, and I never wanted to. Some confessions aren't mine to hear. I plugged it into my phone. Audio files. Dozens of them. I clicked the first one. Ji-hoon's voice, clear as glass. "We can't have loose ends, Kang-yeon. You know that." "She's not a loose end. She's a liability. The raid happens tomorrow. Make sure you're nowhere near it." My hands went numb. The next file. Ji-hoon on the phone with someone, ordering the falsified immigration report, paying off officials, ensuring no survivors. Evidence. Real, undeniable, recorded evidence. My phone buzzed. Text from Ji-hoon. "Time's almost up. Namsan Tower. Midnight. Don't disappoint me." I looked at Father Matthias. "Can I use your computer?" The Shilla Hotel ballroom was packed. Reporters, cameras, investors whose fortunes were tied to Mireo Holdings. And at the podium, looking calm and composed, stood Han Ji-hoon. He was holding a press conference. I watched from the back, hood up, blending into the crowd of journalists and curiosity seekers who'd managed to get past security. "Thank you all for coming," Ji-hoon began in Korean, his voice smooth. "I know there are many questions about recent events involving Mireo Holdings and my former partner, Seo Kang-yeon." Cameras flashed. "I want to be transparent," he continued. "I had no knowledge of the illegal activities Kang-yeon was conducting. When evidence came to light, I immediately cooperated with investigators. Lies. Every word. However," he said, his expression shifting to something like regret, "there's another layer to this story. One involving a woman who's been manipulating the narrative for her own gain." My pulse quickened. The screen behind him lit up. Photos appeared. Me and Kang-yeon in the detention center, separated by glass. Me accepting the vault authorization. Me leaving the bank with the metal box. Gasps rippled through the room. "This is Renee Carter," Ji-hoon said, "daughter of Jisoo Carter, a woman who worked as a translator for Mireo 15 years ago. Ms. Carter has been meeting secretly with Kang-yeon and accepting payments and coordinating this entire exposure to frame him while protecting the real criminals." Murmurs grew louder. "She was paid to destroy Kang-yeon's reputation," Ji-hoon continued, "while ensuring others, including herself, walked free." My jaw clenched. A reporter shouted, "Where is she now?" "Excellent question," Ji-hoon said, scanning the room. "Ms. Carter, if you're watching, I urge you to turn yourself in before this gets worse." I pulled my hood down, stepped forward. The room went silent. Ji-hoon's face flickered, just for a second, before settling back into false concern. "Ms. Carter," he said carefully, "I'm glad you're here. Perhaps you'd like to explain." "Play the video," I said loudly. Security moved toward me. I held up my phone. "I have evidence, real evidence, and if anyone touches me, it uploads automatically to every news outlet in this room." Ji-hoon's smile tightened. "I don't think... Play the video." A journalist I'd contacted earlier, one who owed my mother a favor from years ago, nodded to his team. The screen changed. My mother's face appeared, her testimony, her voice explaining everything, how she'd been coerced, threatened, used. Then Ji-hoon's voice. "We can't have loose ends, Kang-yeon." The ballroom erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras swung toward Ji-hoon. Someone screamed for security to lock the doors. Ji-hoon's face drained of color. "This is fabricated. Forensic audio analysis verified it," I said, stepping closer to the podium. 3 independent labs, time-stamped, cross-referenced with phone records. More audio played. Ji-hoon ordering the raid. Ji-hoon paying off officials. Ji-hoon laughing about it afterward with someone whose voice I didn't recognize. His mask cracked. "You don't know what you're doing," he hissed in Korean. "I know exactly," I replied in the same language. "You killed my mother. You framed Kang-yeon. You built your empire on her corpse." Police pushed through the crowd. Ji-hoon tried to move toward the exit. 2 officers blocked him. "Han Ji-hoon," one said formally, "you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, and financial crimes." He didn't resist, Didn't run. He just stared at me, eyes cold and empty. Your mother chose the wrong side, he said quietly. So did you. No, I replied. I chose the truth. You just weren't used to hearing it. They cuffed him. The ballroom descended into chaos. Reporters rushing forward, investors shouting, someone crying at the corner. And then I saw him. Kang Yeon, standing in the doorway, escorted by 2 officers. Not in handcuffs, released on new evidence. Our eyes met across the crowd. He looked broken, relieved, destroyed, and grateful all at once. I didn't go to him, didn't smile, just nodded once, and walked out. Behind me, cameras clicked, voices shouted my name, but I kept walking, because this wasn't about him. It never had been. This was about my mother. And finally, the world knew her name. 3 days later, I stood at my mother's grave. The headstone was simple. Just her name, her dates, and a line in Korean I'd had added years ago. She spoke truth in a world that preferred silence. White chrysanthemums covered the ground. Not from me. I brought red roses, her favorite. Footsteps approached from behind. I didn't turn. I bring white ones, Kang Yeon said quietly. Every year. Same day. I know, I replied. I've been watching you for 3 years. He stood beside me, hands in his pockets, eyes on the grave. Why didn't you approach me sooner? He asked. Because I needed to be sure. Of what? Whether you deserved to live with this or die for it. Silence stretched between us. And? He finally asked. You deserve to live with it, I said. Death would be too easy. He nodded slowly. I've lived with it every day for 15 years. I'll live with it every day until I die. I turned to face him. Did you love her? Really? Every single day of my life. Then why didn't you save her? His voice broke. I tried. I failed. And I've lived in that failure ever since. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Mireo is being restructured, he said after a moment. Legitimate operations only. No more money laundering. No more using vulnerable workers. I'm building something clean. Good for you. I want you to lead the ethics board. I laughed. Actually laughed. You want me to save your soul? No, he said quietly. I want you to make sure no one else's mother ends up in this grave. I looked at him. Really looked. He'd aged a decade in a week. Exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Why would I help you? Because she would have wanted you to. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. I set up a foundation, in her name, for immigrant workers, legal aid, education, everything she never got. He handed it to me. Inside, documents establishing the Jisoo Carter Foundation. My name listed as executive director. A starting fund of $50 million. My hands shook. This doesn't fix anything, I said. I know. It doesn't bring her back. I know. And it doesn't make you a good man. I know that too. His voice was barely a whisper. But maybe it makes the world slightly less terrible. And maybe that's enough. I stared at the papers, at my mother's name in bold letters, at the chance to turn her death into something that mattered. I'll think about it, I said finally. He nodded, started to walk away. Kang Yeon. He stopped. She loved you too, I said. That's what makes this so hard. His shoulders shook, just once. Then he walked away, leaving me alone with my mother's grave and the weight of a choice I never wanted to make. The wind picked up, scattering petals across the grass. I knelt down, placed my hand on the cold stone. I did it, Mom, I whispered. They know what happened. They know your name. They know you mattered. Somewhere above, clouds shifted. Light broke through. And for the first time in 15 years, I felt like I could breathe. 6 months later, I stood at a podium in front of reporters, investors, and workers whose faces I recognized from my nights serving tables at Jade Harbor. The room was silent. Waiting. I was wearing a tailored suit now. My name tag read, Chief Ethics Officer, Renee Carter. My mother's name, finally visible. Good afternoon, I began in Korean, then repeated in English. Thank you for coming to Moreo Holdings' first public transparency report. Cameras flashed. My mother believed that invisible people hold the truth, I continued. Waitresses, cleaners, translators, people who see everything but are seen by no one. Today we make them visible. I clicked to the first slide. Moreo has established a $50 million fund for immigrant workers, legal aid, whistleblower protections, education scholarships, healthcare access. Applause rippled through the room. We've also implemented new labor standards, fair wages, safe working conditions, zero tolerance for discrimination or retaliation. More applause. A reporter raised her hand. Ms. Carter, there are people who say you should have refused to work with Seo Kang-yeon, that forgiving him dishonors your mother's memory. How do you respond? I met her eyes. I didn't forgive him, I said clearly. Forgiveness isn't the point. Accountability is. Kang-yeon will spend the rest of his life proving he's more than the worst thing he's ever done. If he fails, I'll be the first to take everything away. The room went quiet. My mother didn't die for revenge, I continued. She died because powerful people thought her life didn't matter, so every day I worked to prove them wrong. That's not forgiveness. That's justice. The reporter nodded, satisfied. After the press conference, I did something I'd been avoiding for months. I went back to Jade Harbor. The restaurant had new management now, different owners, but the view was the same. Glass walls, Han River below, Seoul stretching out like a promise or a threat depending on who you were. I sat at table 12. A young server approached. Korean, nervous. She couldn't have been more than 20. Good evening, she said in accented English. May I take your order? I smiled. Answered in Korean. Take your time. No rush. Her shoulders relaxed. She took my order, professionally, carefully. As she turned to leave, I said quietly, if anyone here ever disrespects you, you let me know. Understand? She looked at me, confused, then saw my name on the business card I'd placed on the table. Her eyes widened. I understand, she whispered. She walked away, standing a little taller. I sat there alone, looking out at the city that had tried to erase my mother and failed. Because I carried her voice now, across oceans, through silence, into boardrooms where they never expected to hear it. My phone buzzed. A message from the foundation. Another worker had come forward. Another case of exploitation. Another fight. Good. I was ready. I raised my glass of Bordeaux, the 98, properly decanted, and looked at my reflection in the window. My mother's eyes stared back, and I smiled. Not sweet, not soft, just knowing. They thought my mother's voice died with her. That silence would protect their secrets, that people like us, invisible, underestimated, easy to erase, would just disappear. They were wrong. If you've ever been talked over, dismissed, or told your story doesn't matter, subscribe right now, not for me, but for every person watching in silence, gathering evidence, waiting for their moment. Because justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it speaks perfect Korean. Sometimes it wears a server's uniform. And sometimes it refuses to be silent ever again. Hit that subscribe button. Join us, because the next story, it might be yours, and we'll make sure the world hears it.